Dope. Right. Okay.
This story takes place one late night as I was doing my grocery shopping.
This nighttime?
I would often go shopping late at night after work, and I liked it because my local grocery store was always still open, and it was never very busy at that hour, so I could get all the things I needed in a short time. One night after work, I was shopping for some groceries, and happened to be going down the soda aisle. As I reached the end of it, I noticed something on the bottom shelf. It appeared to be a Polaroid photograph. I just found it strange for one to be in a store on the shelf, and I curiously picked it up. It was a picture of a house, and it had no writing on it in the lower area where people typically wrote.
Sus.
I was about to put it back on the lower shelf when I noticed something. The house looked a lot like mine. I took a really good and long look at the photo for a while, and the house in it looked just about identical to my house.
Oh my God.
I found this really strange, and ended up putting the photo back, then finished my shopping and went home. A few days later, though, I was walking outside to leave for work when I noticed something on the ground. It was another Polaroid picture. I picked it up and saw that this was seemingly...
Okay, alright. The first time it happened, I would have been like, what's up? What's up? What's up? First time, I'm for the first time I seen that, the first picture, I'm calling SWAT.
the same picture from the grocery store. It was the same one of my house. I knew I had left it in the grocery store the other night, and I was now really weirded out by this. I took the photo with me and left for work. When I was done for the day and on the way home, I had to stop at the grocery store once again. I bought some frozen pizzas and a few vegetables and was making my way over to the pasta. The store once again was rather quiet as it was almost 11 p.m. As I was walking, I suddenly saw something as I passed from one aisle to the next. There was a man about 40 feet away from me with a camera pointed directly at me. I couldn't see his face as it was covered by the camera, but I could see he was wearing a black jacket. Just when he saw me, he ducked back behind another aisle. No doubt this was the man who had taken the photo of my house.
Okay. This is what I'm talking about. I don't know if she's playing or not. Yeah, I got your ass on camera. You look sus as hell. No, keep doing your thing, Misty. What? See? Is she crying? Or are they... Is she hurting her? I don't know if she's hurting her. Misty, you look sus as shit. What are you doing to these kids? Pause. You okay? You alright? I'm glad. You okay? Sus ass.
What did he want from me? I walked over to the aisle where the man was, but he was now gone. I walked around for a while, all over the store, trying to find the man, but I never did. I finished my shopping and went back home. After that, I never found any more pictures or saw the man again. I still wonder about him to this day. This story is from roughly 20 years ago. I used to live in a nice little neighborhood outside of a major city in the US. I would often shop at the same grocery store all the time. I would say I went there at least 2 times a week at most. One time, I was shopping near the deli counter, and I saw a man who worked there with a butcher's uniform on, staring at me.
I'm not even gonna hold you. I would just leave immediately. I would leave and just never came back. I would start a whole new life, change my name, make a OnlyFans, and just just. I was just saying, like, if you go to a grocery store and somebody with a like butcher's uniform on, and that probably has a butcher's knife, look like is just staring at you, change your life around. Ask for forgiveness. Repent.
He seemed to be in a really deep stare, and it kind of caught me by surprise. He was a bigger guy with a dark mustache and appeared to be in his 50s or so. He just kept staring at me, and it was making me really uncomfortable, so I sort of smiled a little and gave him a little wave.
What? No.
He didn't wave back at me or smile at all, though. After that, I tried my best to ignore it and moved on to a different part of the store. Over the next several times I went to that store, I would see this guy, and he would always be staring at me. He was pretty creepy. I guess the guy must have been new to the store or something, because I had never noticed him before. Then, one day when I was shopping there, I was in the cereal aisle. The way the store was, if there were no products on the shelves, you could actually see through to the next aisle. I was looking for a certain cereal and came across an open space. I saw in the next aisle over, the man was staring at me through the opening in the aisle.
Oh my God.
I jumped back when I saw him and walked away. I couldn't take it anymore at this point. This guy was being a total creep. I went all the way to the front of the store and found the manager. I asked him who the man was with the mustache that worked at the deli. He told me they didn't have anyone working there who had a mustache. I described the man to him, and the manager told me that nobody like that worked there. We then went all around the store looking for the man, but he was nowhere to be found. After that, I never shopped at that store again.
Oh, you know what you should have did? You should have just stayed there. Ask somebody else, like an employee or whatever. Keep your eyes on this mother clucker. And then they should have got, somebody from customer service or a manager or somebody. Just so you can keep this, just so you can keep this eye on him.
I used to work at a smaller grocery store when I was younger. This is when I was in high school, and back then, between school and work, I was really busy. I mostly worked in the produce, stocking shelves, but I would really do whatever they needed me to. I'm not proud of this, but I would occasionally hide in the back room and go on my phone when I didn't have much work to do in the store, or when things were quiet.
I'm proud of that.
One day, things weren't very busy, and I went into the back room of the store and started to use my phone. I had my walkie-talkie on me in case anyone needed me, and people would rarely go in the back. I would say about 10 minutes after I got back there, I heard the doors to the back room swing open. I assumed it was my boss or a coworker, and I had a little time before they would reach me, so I ran into the bathroom that was back there and quietly shut the door. I heard them walk in, and then I heard another person. Both the people got what sounded like about 15 feet away from me and then started talking. But it wasn't my boss's voice or any coworker that I recognized. I then heard them walking around and talking with one another, but I couldn't make out most of the words they were saying. Then, I heard one of them talk about a car in the back. Before long, I was able to make out the fact that they were robbing our store. We didn't have the greatest security because of us being an older and smaller store, and tried not to make a sound. I was hoping they would just leave already. They kept talking though, and at last it sounded like they were going to leave. That's when suddenly I got a beep on my walkie from someone trying to reach me. I quickly turned it off so it wouldn't make another sound. Unfortunately, the damage was already done. I heard one of the men ask what that sound was. They then started to walk over to the bathroom, and one of them banged on the door 2 times loudly. The man yelled at me and demanded to know who I was. I didn't answer. He then told me to come out in a very stern tone of voice. I decided to say the first thing that came to my mind. I told the man that I had already called the police and they were almost there. I was surprised, but it seemed to work. The man didn't say anything more, and I heard them both walk away. I stayed in there for a while, and then turned my walkie back on. My boss had been trying to reach me for a while. I came back out into the store, and the police, who actually did get called by someone else, arrived a short time later. This happened about a year and a half ago, so I apologize if some of the details are unclear. I worked at a grocery store as a cashier part-time when I was about 20. Since I was in school, I worked on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. I mainly was added to the closing shifts, which didn't bother me. I didn't live very far, and the store was in a well-lit parking lot. There were also some other stores and a gas station around it. One day, a kind of thick guy that was about 5'5", and looked to be about 20, came up to my register. Let's call him Marlon. He asked me if I had a boyfriend. I said yes, which is true. A kind of tall and skinny guy, let's call Sean, who looked to be around the same age, came up beside him. Marlon relayed the news that I had a boyfriend to Sean, and I realized that it was Sean who was interested in me. He was flirting with me at first, saying I was lying or insinuating that I could still talk to him even though I had a boyfriend. At first, I laughed a little bit and continued the conversation, not because I was interested or flirting back with him, but I genuinely thought it was just his attempt to keep flirting as some guys my age do. I thought he'd go about his business after that. Eventually, he left my counter and both guys walked into the store. Before they left out for good, Sean came back and continued to kind of flirt with me before they left with no groceries. The next day or two, Sean came back in. I assumed he lived in the neighborhood next to the store, as many of our customers did, so I wasn't surprised to see him again. He came back up and tried to flirt again. All he kept doing was trying to deny that I had a boyfriend or whatever. Again, I thought it was just his poor attempt to make conversation. At this point, I was a little bit confused though about why he was so adamant about talking to me. I wore a mask while I worked due to the pandemic, so we never saw my entire face. I just passed it off. By Sean's third approach, I was bothered by him. I decided that I would just ignore him or tell him to leave me alone if he approached me again. This time, my manager asked me to clean down carts in our little lobby area. I put in my AirPods and cleaned for a few hours unbothered. Eventually, the sun started setting and I was convinced that I wouldn't see Sean for the rest of the night. As soon as I began to relax though, I saw him come in. I tried to turn away from the door and busy myself with cleaning a cart, hoping that he would just go straight into the store and not see me. Unfortunately, he saw me anyways and said, "Dang, you don't want to talk to me?" I tried to ignore him, but he wouldn't leave me alone. I turned around and tried to make it evident that he was bothering me. I think I even told him that I wasn't interested. I kept my responses short and dry, and tried to say to him that I had to get back to work. He kept playing it off though, but eventually he went into the store. I was asked to get carts from outside, and at this point, it was just getting dark. I took that opportunity to call my mom and let her know that Sean was back. I had to call my dad the previous night to ask him to wait for me when I got off because I was afraid Sean was waiting for me in the parking lot. Sean had also been asking me what shifts I worked, so he knew what was going on. I wanted someone on the phone with me in case Sean came to talk to me again. To no surprise, he approached me in the parking lot with his friend. I said, "What do you want? I'm talking to my mom." I forgot how the conversation went, but he then said something like, "I'll see you later" at the end of it and walked off.
Man.
He went to the side of the store. At this point, he knew that I was not enjoying his presence, so I took this as a definite threat. I kept my mom on the phone as I walked back into the store. A coworker saw that I looked bothered, and I told him what was going on. I asked if he saw where Sean went. He told me he saw him get into a black car that was sitting right beside the store. When I walked back into the store from getting carts, I told any worker who would listen about Sean. Again, this was almost 2 years ago, so the details here get a little bit fuzzy. I said to one of the security guards, Michael, about Sean too, and how I was uncomfortable. He told me he saw Sean and his friends walking around outside near the front of the store, right before they walked up to me. Sean casually showed a gun to his friends in the side of his pants in front of Michael. Michael either asked him to leave or told him to put it away, one of those. Either way, Michael was very unbothered by them, saying that he thought Sean was just trying to show off and look intimidating. Another coworker of mine, who was also a young woman, said that Sean came in bothering young women all the time, and she thought that the gun was fake. Everyone was too calm for my liking. Fake gun or not, I wasn't taking a chance to find out which one it was. I went into the closet behind the counter and called my mom crying, telling her I was scared. I felt threatened and genuinely wasn't sure of Sean's intentions. I didn't know why he was targeting me. I've heard horror stories of girls getting hurt or worse because of some guy's fragile ego and not being able to take rejection. I knew it could only get worse if Sean's friends were hyping him up. My mom was furious and told me that she was on the way. She told me to let them know that I was leaving early. For some reason, I didn't want to leave early. It was close to the end of my shift anyways, and I didn't want to leave the only cashier alone to close. I worked the last hour or so and asked Michael to watch me go out to my car. My mom and sister were waiting on me, as well as my dad in his car. I either called my dad or my mom did, but I was thankful for the extra bodies. I felt so much safer having my people around. I got into my car and drove home with my parents behind me. My mom told me that my dad saw a black car sitting in the parking lot when he drove up, that eventually pulled off. That only confirmed that Sean and his friends were waiting on me when I got out. I let the store's manager know that I wouldn't be coming in for the next few days because I didn't feel safe. But eventually, I returned as I was close to graduating from school and my schoolwork started picking up. To this day, I still wonder what could have happened that night if I never told my parents, but I'm grateful that I don't have to find out.
Man, Jesus. I worked at a grocery store. I worked at 2 grocery stores, to be honest. One of my first jobs, I worked at Safeway. It's back in Maryland. And then I worked at Publix, and that's further down south. But I do not recall having any clucked up, no, for the most part, I was pretty safe. I did see some weird shit going on though, but other than that, I had a good time. I had a good time working at Publix and working at Safeway. Thank God I never really got into those clocked up situations or any robberies or anything like that, because I don't know if I would have just ran. I would have said clucked everybody and I would have just ran. Dead ass. But if you work in a grocery store, let me know about your experiences, good or bad. I was pretty much a ladies. I was cool with the fellas and I was a ladies man. I still am. I'm very charming and very nice. But I'm also faithful, too. So, yeah, my girlfriend has nothing to worry about. But, yeah, I had some good times working at grocery stores. Now, some people probably have, other, bad experiences. But let me know in the comment section whether or not your experiences working at a grocery store was bad or good. Let me know. Keep it cool, keep it classy, and I love you. Stay happy, my family.